The EasyJet flight home was already delayed by an hour. I learned this from the internet the minute I arrived at the airport. However, this was not on any of the information screens until long after I'd checked in my bag and gone through security. The flight departed normally until around 45 minutes later when we were told we were returning to the airport due to a medical emergency. Initially, we were given the impression that we were taking off again, but then we were told to collect our bags and wait at check-in for the airline to find us all hotel rooms for the night. I started looking myself on Booking.com and seen several available low-priced rooms within 5 miles of the airport. However, the terms clearly stated that you wouldn't get your money back if you booked your own accommodation. The airline had to do it for you. After about an hour, about 20% of the passengers were directed to a bus. Families with young children were given priority. Another hour passed until EasyJet changed its mind and informed us that it could no longer provide hotel rooms and we should look for our own rooms. By this point it was long past midnight. The hotels I was looking at before didn't have 24-hour reception. There was no way to book online. The least EasyJet could have done was to give us an item of food and drink each before we got off the plane. The airport wasn't any better. Over 4 hours had passed since we had initially boarded the plane and we were offered nothing. Not even a simple cup of water. There wasn't a single person from EasyJet to speak to. The airport had effectively closed for the night, leaving only a handful of ground staff and security who for the most part didn't seem interested. The worst part was the complete lack of communication between the airport staff and the passengers. If they had told us to find our own rooms before midnight, that would have been fine. If they had given us regular updates on their search for hotel rooms, that would have been fine. If they had told us we had to sleep at the airport, that would have been fine. But we were told absolutely nothing. By this point I was prepared to sleep at the airport. However, I discovered that this wasn't an option as they wanted us all out of the airport for cleaning purposes. With time heading towards 2 in the morning and still no clue about what was happening, it was hardly a surprise when some passengers started to angrily confront the airport staff. Their only response to this was to try and make people feel guilty for complaining in the first place. Suddenly we were finally provided with some water to drink. Suddenly people started making phone calls and they started giving us names of hotels we were staying at. For some strange reason I was staying at the exact same hotel as the group that left 2 hours earlier. After spending half hour on a bus, the nightmare wasn't over yet. I still had to wait 30 minutes for the hotel to confirm my booking with the airport before I could check in. By the time I got my room it was nearly 3 in the morning, leaving less than 4 hours sleep before having to get up for breakfast and catching the bus back to the airport. I also had a long journey home by public transport to do when I finally landed at Gatwick. Being put into a £200 a night Sheraton hotel was no consolation. The £40 a night hotels I was looking at before midnight would have been just fine and I would have at least got a full night's sleep. On the way home the crew were very apologetic and advised us to give feedback on the company's website. However, I do not expect anything to improve having read story after story of stranded passengers being given little or no help by the airline.